Ms. Cristol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations. One of my favorite ideas of the past year came from an exhibit at the National Building Museum. The premise was that as the American family and household changes, our neighborhoods and our housing must as well. The policy approach to reconciling these changes was called making room, and it's how I'm thinking about the year ahead. Making room means making room in our neighborhoods and in our community facilities. Our region is growing. In 2015, well before Amazon ever had the idea of a second headquarters, the Metro Washington Council of Governments forecasted 1.5 million more jobs and 650,000 more households coming to our region by 2045. But our region hasn't grown housing supply to match our economy, and we're all feeling the crisis, or the consequences, an affordability crisis for our middle class, displacement of our working class and low-income residents. Arlington might only be one jurisdiction in a big region, but I know that we can be leaders in establishing a better way forward. So, how do we make room in 2019 and in the years to come? First, by addressing the biggest concerns associated with growth. My colleagues and I have sought to support the school board over the past few years in addressing the most acute capacity crunches through more effective site planning processes. And the 3 new or expanded schools opening their doors about 9 months or so from now represent real progress for families and for students. But we also need to show how Arlington plans not just to address these current needs, but to accommodate the growing numbers of students over the coming decades. So 2019 is a year to make progress on this kind of long-range planning. Whether it takes the form of a school's element of the comprehensive plan, which is my preference, or another tool that we can better pair with a more complete look at the non-schools community facilities needed over the decades to come. Similarly, we've seen throughout Arlington that congested roads and the perception of parking scarcity can really tear neighborhoods apart, not to mention motivate opposition to more neighbors. We have to be able to get people where they're going, living, and working without adding more congestion and more parking demand. Our efforts towards this goal in 2019 include helping restore metro reliability and ridership and realizing the 2 long-awaited milestones for premium bus service on Columbia Pike, like new transit stations beginning this summer. As we seek to address these quality of life issues associated with making room, it is time to revise our zoning ordinance to allow different, diverse, and more affordable home types throughout the county, not just in our commercial corridors. In 2017 and 2018, we did make some progress on allowing the forms of housing currently missing in Arlington County, interior accessory dwellings and 2-family dwellings, for example, but not nearly enough. Amazon's arrival has focused our community energy on protecting our middle class from being permanently priced out. We can't squander this opportunity to make these hard but critical zoning reform changes in the year ahead. Making room as a planning concept is also about understanding how the needs of our residents change over the course of their individual lives. This year, I'm especially looking forward to the continuation of our Commission on Aging-led efforts to make Arlington an official age-friendly community, and helping with their support better understand how our public and private environments need to evolve to support seniors who wish to stay here. At the other end of the spectrum, after an exciting year for our child care initiative, including the implementation of a number of programmatic strategies, this board will soon be poised to act on the zoning and child care code amendments that will enable quality child care providers to locate and to expand here in Arlington County. We also need to make room for new perspectives at our decision-making table and a harder look at where inequality persists in our community. The leaders of our human services coalitions, particularly the 10-year Plan to End Homelessness and the Destination 2027 Public Health Update, have really crystallized this issue for us in the past year, and I'm thrilled that our chair has made equity a focus for 2019. I believe that affordability is and will continue to be the most central component of an equity agenda because ending disparities is a hollow victory indeed if we achieve it through diminished numbers of lower income or demographically diverse neighbors. But we also need a better system for evaluating whether our decisions, policy or programmatic, are advancing or stymieing our equity goals. Consider, for example, the City of Oakland's practice of scoring neighborhood traffic requests against maps of health and safety outcomes for residents, and then sharing those results with constituents as they use them to prioritize those very same traffic requests. It's time to use data to put our shared value of equity into practice and to make room for the possibility of changing our standard operating procedures. Before I conclude, I also think it's possible to focus both on the scale of work and improvements ahead in 2019 while still making room to acknowledge how much we accomplished in 2018. An unusually difficult operating budget and capital improvement plan update consumed the first half of the year. Each forced difficult conversations and indeed led to dissatisfied stakeholders. And yet both culminated in financial plans that avoided tax rate increases while still protecting key services. We achieved a watershed funding agreement for the first time in the history of WMATA across 2 states in the district, flawed though the Virginia component of that plan continues to be. We finalized new community facilities, including a new home for our youngest and most vulnerable learners with Head Start, public spaces investments in the Knock community, a long-term solution to the thorny problem of parking our bus fleet, and approval, albeit with much controversy, of an expansion of the county's only hospital. And we did all this while expanding the conversation. Our Big Ideas roundtables invited in new voices, in English and in Spanish, as well as familiar faces, to talk about the big picture issue of Arlington's growth, what we worry about, what we hope for, and how we can make room for others while maintaining what we love about our hometown, which is a big idea indeed, and a big task for the year ahead. Happy New Year.